Good morning. What we want to cover with you guys today is a real life example of why we do this. I love what Sheila kind of went over with her clients, and today we're going to give you a little picture of the other side of it, and I'm going to have Tanya kind of cover some of that because it was a client that she sat down with a number of years ago, so I'll let her kind of go through it. Ain't she beautiful, y'all?
Hey guys, I'm just trying to put the timer. Just a little history. You know, Gabe trained me, and he was known back days that he would take 3-4 hours for the interview, right? So I learned from him. So I'm trying to stick with the time, right? He improved. I still take my time now, right? I inherited it, but you know, I just want to talk about the client. I just came this morning from New York because I had to see the client, and so back in New York, I met this lady, and like Sheila, right? She also paid. Somebody sold her. She paid $1,000 for her, $500 for each kid every month, 3 kids, right? And I sat down with her. She paid for 15 years. Do the math. She only had like 50 grand of cash value. She was really heartbroken, right? And she introduced me to all her family, and one of her niece, or I don't remember who she, right? So they lived in New Jersey. They're from El Salvador. They just came, and you know, they really married. Hugh had an older son. So if you think about this, right, situation, it's like, oh, they really don't need insurance, right? Because they really don't have a financial responsibility. And but you know, they came and I sat down with them and I really explained them. You know, they were starting a business. They acquired debt. So I said, you know, you're new here. You really need to understand, because if something happened to each of you, you have a lot of debt because you're starting a business. So they agreed. They had insurance, and you know, and he even got a say, I'm going to do it with you, right? He just had an issue to get a license. And then maybe like some time ago, maybe, I don't know, 6 months ago, I see his policy lapsed, and you know, I started following up with him, and he would not answer, and I realized he had a, you know, serious situation in his family because his father passed away apparently from heart attack, and then his older son passed away from different disease, right? So he was kind of in and out, Salvador here, so I really followed up, right? Because I felt like they knew in this country, they need to know, they need to understand how a system works and what they really should do, because all they knew just really how to work hard, right? So I submitted another policy, and we sit down again. I explained that it's really important, especially what happened in his life, right? And I said, you know what, Tanya, I'm gonna do it. We have a debt. I don't want to leave my wife with that, because he spoke some English. She didn't speak any English. I don't know. It was all Google Translator, right, for me. And you know, we sit down, and what was it, 23, right? That's when I sit down, and you know, he went through all of the writing, everything great. He got a coverage, right? And then just, you know, this is also important to know not just your client, but also, you know, people that around him, right? Family, friends, because what happened, I just got this call 2 weeks ago from that aunt who referred me to, said, do you know that this guy, you know, let's say Josh, right? Sorry, Josh. Well, so let me call another name, Jose, right? Sorry about that. I don't know what you know, name to come up with, but you know, so he passed away. So he actually went to El Salvador for vacation. They had a very stressful year that year. He went and he passed away. He had a heart attack, and he was 45 years old. 45, right? Like, who would know? And obviously, that's a great thing about what we do, right? We not just sell to the client and never see them again, right? We actually talk to the, you know, their referrers, right? Because we get a lot of referrals because we do what's right. We know their family, friends, and, you know, aunt actually called me and said, Tanya, you know, that happened, right? So I called his wife right away, and she was in El Salvador, and I said, look, I'm here for you. You know how to find me. Whenever you come back, just call me right away. I'll be there, right? And I know a lot of us, we go way above and beyond for our clients to really serve them, right? That's why I always say it's not just, we're not a 1-800 number. We are there for you, right? So I just came back this morning from there, right? So I sat down with her, she came back and, fill out application, and that's a different story when somebody passed away. But I said, I'm here for you, I'm gonna follow up, I'm gonna do everything, and I'm gonna bring you a check, right? And she felt very comfortable, right? I also went over her dad and stuff, what can we do and stuff like that. So this is, guys, really important what we do, right? Sometimes if you feel client don't need life insurance, believe it, we all do. So with all that, here you go, I made it.
Yeah, guys, and obviously what we just kind of went over is somebody passed away, right? Shaq told me a long time ago when I first started this business, he said, you don't really understand what we do until you deliver a death claim. Since COVID, Tanya and I have delivered 9 death claims over almost $3 to $4 million that we've given to families for losing a loved one. There is the human aspect of what we do that a lot of people don't realize, don't see it. But it's there, it's absolutely there. And navigating, through that process, when you deal with a family and you deal with the widows or the widowers, it's something that is hard to do. It's heartbreaking. She, like I said, 2 days ago, she calls her and she right away changed all the schedule, got there, and helped her through this process. So it's a lot more than just sales, guys. It's a lot more than sales. It's about the promises that we have and that we have to keep as agents and as professionals and as family and friends and people that we take care of. So never forget that. Never, never, never. I agree with Sheila and a lot of the agents here. Never forget what we do. It is more than just sales and fun and all this other kind of stuff. It's about making a difference and an impact in families' lives. Thank you for your time.